Good evening. I must be a glutton for punishment. I have to wait for the uploading of the second video, the introduction to this book, before I can rest. So rather than waste my time, I'll continue where I left off. And the subject that we were looking at, I stopped at number 11. There's no more. I'll read number 11 for those who missed it. And the book is called Geoengineering, Patently Patented. Contributors David Hollingsworth and David Albert Yates and Dane Wigington. And ISBN 979-871-98-66659. So, the final section of the last reading was number 11. The US military has for decades stated its intense interest in climate engineering programs for strategic military purposes, i.e., owning the weather by 2025. Top US military leaders have repeatedly stated on the record that climate change is the greatest national security threat of all. It would be extremely naive to believe that the US military is not completely involved in Earth-wide climate modification programs. Well, they are here in England. All those big planes up there are not English, not all of them. In fact, there are numerous film footage segments of military tankers spraying materials at altitude available for any that choose to investigate. So the subject of this video is, what effect is the climate engineering causing? So we'll continue. In the midst of all this metal showing up in our soil and water, our forests are suffering huge losses. Forest fires are out of control around the Northern Hemisphere. Siberia is losing about 100,000 acres a year to forest fires. Many other countries have had prolonged states of emergency from record wildfires as well. Drought, one of the main consequences associated with geoengineering aerosols, also is reaching an epidemic level this year, 2021. It is important to understand how forest fires and drought apply to geoengineering. In addition to robbing the environment of moisture, an atmosphere saturated with geoengineering particulates also increases atmospheric conductivity. With the forest fuels at record low moisture levels due to the ongoing droughts, the effects of the CAG, SAG and SRM, which I spoke about in earlier videos, that's the abbreviation, have proved a devastating combination as dry lightning strikes have become widespread, fueling countless out-of-control wildfires. Clearly, with geoengineering, the weather on Earth can be modified by the timing and quantity and size of particulates being sprayed into the environment. This begs the question, as to the true intent of geoengineering. Is it a potential way to gain power via control of the weather rather than a proposed solution to prevent warming? It appears as though a primary motivation for pursuing geoengineering by the US military is the strategic advantage offered by weather modification for numerous scenarios. I'll put a bit in here. I'm not reading this bit. If you look back in history, you'll see round about the Napoleonic Wars that they knew then if they could control the weather, they would win the wars that they were fighting. So what is modern man doing? And who is the modern man? America. They've had the most weaponized country in the world with better weapons than anywhere else for my lifetime. I'm over 70. Okay, continuing. Controlling the weather creates a powerful force multiplier for a nation's military during a conflict. For example, if one nation were able to ground an entire country's air force because of severe weather, or create a drought so bad that a nation is weakened internally and rebellion against its leaders takes place, a nation could win a war before firing the first shot. The US military has historically been vocal about the desire to be able to modify the weather, going back to the 1940s. I was born in 1946, and the Americans were here then. They've never left. My dad was a photographer in the RAF, and he was based at Marham. That's how come I was born in Norfolk. And he used to go to Lakenheath, Alconbury, Mildenhall, all these American bases. I don't think they've given them up. And then the women, my age group, went to that common place and outside because of the nuclear stuff and all that. Yeah. I better carry on, sorry. When the Americans, partnered with General Electric, who was researching weather modification at that time, for the third time, the president of, I call it Persia, but you call it Iran, has stated that he believes his country, and I do too, is the victim of ongoing NATO weather modification assaults that have left his country in a dire state of drought. Officials in Pakistan have also made similar accusations. Recently, when the government of Thailand drug its, I think they've written drug but meant dug its feet in regard to granting a new base in their country for the US to monitor weather changes, that's conduct weather modification, ? They were decimated by record flooding. Coincidence? about Australia. They're experiencing flooding in places they never get rain. They were decimated by record flooding. Coincidence? Who profits? Closer to home? Don't overlook still worsening drought decimating the western US. Is it yet another coincidence that Monsanto, the world's largest genetically modified seed company, has introduced its newest drought and aluminium resistant corn in the midst of this unfolding disaster? The weather derivatives market trades stocks that are nothing more than bets on where weather catastrophes will strike, who such events will affect, what crops will be damaged, etc., etc., etc. Could this be the corporate, industrial, military complex manufacturing weather disasters and then making massive profits for corporations from the damage they have done? All indications point towards a new type of profit investment market, disaster capitalism. So that's why we have all those shave weather, milk weather, two preachers weather. I follow all of them, watching the bad weather and reading biblical things into it, because those things that we're seeing are biblical. They're prophesied in the Bible, what we're seeing now in different countries weather-wise. So I'll read that line again. All indications point towards a new type of profit investment market, disaster capitalism. If you've got the right feed of knowledge, you can make money, can't you? Who are the players that appear to be involved? The Raytheon Corporation is heavily involved in weather modification patents, hence the name of this book. Raytheon is believed to do all the weather modelling for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, NOAA, like Noah with no H, with a 2 A's, and the National Weather Service. Another player in this gamble on the future of our Earth is the Lockheed Martin Corporation, who is also heavily invested in the weather modification business and appears to do all the weather modelling for the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA. Could the foxes be running the hen house? Are they predicting weather at this point, or giving us the weather schedule? ? If this is the case, would they want to disclose this? Energy Commission. That's the next page. Sorry, the pages are not numbered. Never are. How is the spraying done? Many ask if these materials that are being deposited in our atmosphere are part of jet fuel, or are they part of a payload delivery system that is actually sprayed? All available data points primarily to payload dispersion. First, there is already a patent for a powder contrail generator, which is for the expressed purpose of spraying microscopic particles into the atmosphere from jet aircraft. Next, the massive amount of metal aerosol tonnage proposed by geoengineers to be dispersed on an annual basis. Now, I'm going to have to read out all the noughts. It's 20 and then 000, comma, 000 tons, according to internationally recognized geoengineer, another David, but a bad one, I think, David Keith, is simply far too much for any type of fuel additive. Again, as already mentioned, there are also countless compelling photos, this book has got loads of them, and extensive film footage that clearly indicates spraying from separate nozzles on the plane. Shockingly, some of this footage actually shows spray coming from the front wing of a rear engine jet, with visible spraying from nozzles starting and stopping at various times. So, why in the world are they spraying if it is doing so much damage to the all life on Earth? It would seem because they can, and there is no one to stop them except God. It'll turn against you when the Lord has had enough of you. The craving for absolute control appears to have no bounds or limits, even if that quest puts the seekers themselves at risk. Why did the same power structure feel the need to detonate over 2,000 nuclear weapons, even though that has contaminated all that lives? Why has the same power structure constructed a nuclear arsenal large enough to mathematically destroy life on Earth some 12,000 times over? Coming up with an answer to such questions is difficult. What it is possible to say is that a mountain of data confirms the harsh and lethal reality of Earth-wide geoengineering. The ongoing spraying is completely disrupting all natural weather patterns. We're having bad weather here in England as well. It's not just all those places that I watch on YouTube. It's here. We're having flooding here too, and all sorts of dreadful things happen, but not quite as bad as what I've seen throughout the whole world. Bad enough though, for the people who are at the front end of it. The ongoing spraying is completely disrupting all natural weather patterns, creating catastrophic earth-wide droughts, record deluges like in Australia and places where they don't have it, shredding the ozone layer, contaminating our soils and waters. And the Native Americans have been telling us about this for years, before it even got to this stage. The Americans was doing this sort of thing. And even more critical, poisoning every breath we take with microscopic metal and chemical nanoparticles that are extremely damaging to the human body. They make it so you can't breathe in here. I have got permanent phlegm stuck right where my fingers are. And the doctor said, "Oh, can you bring a sputum test?" I can't bring it up. It's stuck there. Sticks and remains there. And I'm not ill. And it won't budge. It's just there. And it only affects me at night and when all that stuff is coming. Anyway, that's just side for this. That are extremely damaging to the human body. As if all this was not enough, the damage done to the earth now appears to have reached a critical point. Catastrophic methane release has been triggered on the East Siberian shelf of the Arctic. Though methane is often considered to be 20 plus times more potent a greenhouse gas than CO2. This is over a 100-year time horizon. Over a 10-year time horizon, methane is considered to be 100 times more potent than CO2. To put this in context, the methane release that has been triggered is an Earth-wide game changer in and of itself, with potential consequences that are unimaginable. Mathematically, there is enough methane hydrate in Arctic seafloor deposits to create a Permian-type mass Earth extinction 100 times over if it were all to release. Geoengineering is literally putting life on Earth in a dangerous balance. All available information related to the ongoing climate engineering insanity points to the conclusion that short of nuclear annihilation, the ongoing geoengineering atmospheric spray programs are the greatest and most immediate threat to life on Earth. How do we stop geoengineering? So what can we do? Raise awareness at a grassroots level. This is the only way to battle this issue. All governmental agencies and representatives are part of the corporate industrial complex, and no ground can be gained through the system, and that includes MPs, unless they're Christian. And I think they're approachable. I say this after 10 years of effort working in conjunction with the California EPA, the Cal Energy Commission, the Cal Water Quality, the USDA, USFS, and other institutions. Only when the population at large is made aware of the fact that they are being sprayed like lab rats, laboratory rats, can the geoengineering be brought to light and to a halt. If the population is aware, military personnel and families will then be aware, and we would hope they would at some point refuse to participate in their own demise. There are many good people in the military that would care if they were only informed. Certainly, they will never be told by the system they are in. What is a course of effective action? From our own home computers, we can all work to locate and identify people, groups, and organizations that would care if they only had a clue. That is why I'm using my computer right now to read this book. It only arrived today. I should be in bed, but I'm doing this because it's so important. I'll catch up on sleep later. I mean, it's horrifying. I have children, even though they don't talk to me most of some do. I've adopted children, they do. And grandchildren. I love them all. I don't want them to have to live in this world with all this poison going on, and they don't know about it. I scream it from the rooftops. So let me continue. Sorry about this, but it's the end of the day for me. These groups can include, I don't think much of journalists, but the word is here, journalists. They're in the hands of government too much. Environmental organizations and ADD groups, AD groups, Alzheimer's, autism, and agricultural organizations. The list is endless. The film Look Up by filmmaker George Barnes is a very good introductory educational tool on this subject. The Skyder Alert app is another excellent tool for spreading the word. PowerPoint presentations are available at geoengineeringwatch.org. Passing out informational flyers is also very effective. Many flyer examples can be found at geoengineeringwatch.org. These flyers can be downloaded for free and printed locally. It is up to us. Geoengineering is not just another environmental issue, it is the issue. The ongoing implementation of these programs is virtually decimating the biosphere from top to bottom. If it is not brought to light and to a halt, all other issues will soon enough become mute. Geoengineering is a lethal reality that must be exposed and stopped. Here's some more pictures. I'll turn the pages, but there's so many of them. They are endless, these pictures. There are loads of them. So I'll just see where the writing, if it continues beyond. I haven't read the book. I'm just reading it you as I'm opening it. It only arrived today. There's some words. Everyone's a fingerprint, all evidence espied, individual captures that cannot be denied. Dear people of our future, this is why we died. Very prophetic words they are. And this is Look by David Yates. What more proof do you need? What greater proof must we provide? What can we do to get through to you that natural weather is being denied? The truths in these pages supplied. Nothing's hidden. It's all in plain sight. Take a look at each picture and whet your appetite with copious amounts of pictorial proof. The truth can be occulted or kept hidden easily when you condition society to visually reject it. Creating a gag reflex of cognitive dissonance just because it sounds so batshit crazy. And all these pictures in here, you need to see them. And line by line by David Albert Yates. Line by line by line they came, whiter than white, but it ain't cocaine. It meant to be snorted just the same, but this one hit won't whiz your brain. 'Twas never meant to entertain. Just leave it stain prior to all life slain. Lines of indulgence to languish at leisure. Lines that go on and on forever. Side by side, crossed and crisped. Look up in wonder, they're not to be missed. Yeah, there's just so many pictures. Well, Dear Father Christmas, all I want for Christmas is having sun and clear blue sky. No more chemtrails, please. I promise to be good. That's, yeah. So we'll end with that. We'll end with that sweet little child, beautiful sweet little child. You'll be lucky to grow up if this doesn't get stopped. Yeah, the pictures are all here, and you could go online probably and find pictures. Someone will have put all these pictures online. That we need to share all of this. It's horrendous. but you'll all be feeling it in your chests. You'll all be feeling it soon, one way or another. Anyway, God bless you all, and thank you for listening. I've gone on a bit, haven't I? But it's been shocking. Thank you for listening. I hope you can digest some of it.